What's going on, guys? We are back to talk a little bit about the flip and spin land, but also to talk about the unofficial world champion, who that is. So obviously, flip and spin, they finally had their land. 4 teams got to go, and we saw K-Corp playing with Nolly, who is right now a free agent in North America, I would assume, is where he wants to stay. They go on and take down Vitality to, according to Wikipedia, become the unofficial world champs. They obviously win the flip and spin land too. That's very, very big. So that was Vatira, Rise, and Nolly. The reason why Addo could not play was because basically he's still under contract under Team Liquid for the time being. So Team Liquid didn't let him play. Basically how it went. Who knows when his contract's over? Maybe they're just waiting for his contract to be over to actually officially announce him, but that's what we're hearing around here. So kudos to K-Corp for finally taking down Vitality. Do I think it's a huge deal? Not really, because it's like we're in the middle of the offseason. Obviously, teams are still trying to play, but we're not ramping up towards anything, right? It's the only tournament. So at the end of the day, like if I was still doing Pyro rankings, I'm still going to have Vitality number 1 going into the new season, whenever that is. But K-Corp, which we've said before, like I could even see them being argued as number 1 even before this LAN. I don't think it's that big of a stretch. But for me personally, I'm going to keep the world champs at number 1. That all being said, where Nolly goes is a whole separate conversation that we'll probably do in another video. But I wanted to go down a rabbit hole here a bit and talk about the unofficial world champion, because I think there's 2 ways to go about it. Wikipedia has it one way, and I'm considering another. So let's get into it. Going to go over to my browser settings here. We'll probably see some ads on the right side. I'll try and get rid of them so it looks a little cleaner if I can. Let me see if I can get the browser going here. There we go. Get rid of these ads. All right, here we go. Let's pop this over here. So, unofficial world champion. Right now, obviously, it looks like it would be K-Corp over Vitality, right? Because K-Corp took them down in a 3v3 tournament. So that makes... Based upon the idea of an unofficial football world championship title, unofficial world championships coined for different esports titles as well, yada, yada, yada. It names the world championship according to the logic of King of the Hill contest, where the king retains their title until another team defeats them in a tournament and thus gets to sit on the throne and become kings themselves. Obviously, they're only considering 3v3. They're not going to consider Gamers 8. For that chain to continue, we'll keep reading here for a second. In every match that has been notable or covered on the side, which includes champion going up against challenger, an environment that promotes competitive integrity. This, therefore, means that matches which include mutators, for example, like Mid-Season Mayhem. I love Mid-Season Mayhem. Does not count. Tournaments that are also played out in game mode other than 3v3, such as the Universal Open or Gamers 8, also do not count towards this ranking. And this is where I differ, just slightly. So let's get down this rabbit hole here, because at the end of the day, when you play a 3v3 match, who is going to, or at least in a tournament set, not in like ranked, obviously. Once you lose a 3v3 match, you basically lose your unofficial world title. Is how I'm going to track this for now. Obviously, I think it's very likely K-Corp, but I think there is an argument for another unofficial world champion. I'm going to give you a couple seconds, pause the video, and you decide who it is. Who you think it could possibly be. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. You're all wrong. None of you got it right. I guarantee it right now. You all said version 1. You're all clearly wrong. So, let's get into it. So, let's talk about the unofficial world championship. Obviously, Vitality going into Gamers 8 was the unofficial world champion because they didn't lose their last 3v3 game. And that's where we get into Gamers 8. So, let's talk about Gamers 8 here real quick. I'm going to look at the last time they lost a 3v3 and didn't trade it back, right? The only thing I care about is 3v3 matches for Vitality, which makes sense. It doesn't matter about the series score. It doesn't matter about anything like that, because obviously 1s and 2s are in there too, that those don't really count in terms of my logic, at least. So let's go up to Vitality versus Oxygen, their first round opponent. In the first 3v3, they did win, so they keep their title. Oxygen then beat them, and then they beat them again. So Oxygen in that game 5, because it was 3v3, they get the unofficial world title. So we'll have to follow Oxygen now. Go over to G2. In the first 3v3, G2 wins, but Oxygen comes back and wins game 3, 3v3, so they retain their title going into the playoff bracket. Now we move on down here, and this is where you think, all right, maybe things will go V1's way. V1 did win game 7, 3v3, so they get the unofficial world title. But when they played the Falcons, they lost the last 3v3 game. So the Falcons, leaving Gamers 8, are the unofficial world champions, at least according to my logic. Again, you can argue with me in the comments below if you feel like it. We're just making a fun video. So now we got to go look at the Falcons and see where they went. Obviously that they lost this tournament, but the last 3v3 game they played, they won. So we move on to Falcons results and we go check it out. That was back in August, Gamers 8. We go to the Regional Rumble weekly tournament, and look at this. They lose to Infinity. So let's go take a look at that. Infinity with the squad of Suspect, Nader, and Vampires take the win. They also won that entire tournament, so it didn't really matter what happened after that. They beat Falcons. They beat Falcons again. Not sure if that was a forfeit or whatever. It doesn't really matter because Infinity won 4-0 the first time. So Infinity taking over the unofficial world champions. Now, that was back in October. November 1st, GK Esports acquire Infinity. Big move by GK. They acquire the unofficial world championship title, and Mina's going to hold this for a while. So let's go over to GK, see what they've done recently, and that's where we get into the other land that's been taking place, the Saudi E-Leagues, and we'll take a look there. They did go 3-0 in their groups, but this is the other land I think people are talking about right now. Lots of money on the line. Obviously, a lot of people aren't talking about this. A lot of people didn't watch it as well, but group stage went, and we got GK going 3-0. They took down Rule 1. Rule 1 had a chance to take over that title, but they did not do it. Falcons as well. They won 3-0 on their side of the group. So here's what the bracket looks like, which I believe it concludes next weekend. So if you want to check that out, make sure you're watching on Twitch. I'm not sure what the actual Twitch link is, so let's take a look. It's just Saudi E-Leagues. Saudi E-Leagues on Twitch. So definitely check that out. Lots of money on the line. But GK, as of right now, which again, I bet none of you guessed this, they are the unofficial world champs. Whoever wins this tournament will continue to be the unofficial world champs. Again, according to my logic of it, just comes down to the last 3v3 game you played in a tournament setting, and that is why the Falcons have it and not V1, which then I guess would go over to G2. Like if you consider that, and if you don't consider that at all, then it goes to K-Corp. But for me, Middle East control the unofficial world championship title, and they will probably hold it until whenever we get our next major, whenever that happens. So there you go. That's what we got here. No one, I bet you none of you guessed that. And if you did, pat yourself on the back, because that's a job well done. But the unofficial world champion right now, and the other land that's going on, GK Esports with that 3-0. They get the #1 overall seed as well going into that playoffs that'll conclude next weekend. So congrats to K-Corp. But did you really win anything? No, because you're not the unofficial world champion, according to me at least. So doesn't matter. I don't know. Either way, Nolly needs a team. We'll probably talk about that in a future video. Very, very talented player showing up against the world's best and winning a LAN. Congrats to him. Congrats to Vatira and Rise as well. And that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.